Information could be good or bad, true or false, even understated or misleading. But facts, they say, are bold, true, and crystal clear. They light the way to a safer space. Welcome to the FactSpace, your weekly mission to master media literacy and seize the power of truth. Join us this and every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on Radio Universe for the FactSpace. And always remember, facts matter.
Good evening and welcome to the FactSpace, a weekly program focused on helping you understand the key challenges and threats that information disorder and the use of digital technology pose to us. We want to help you sift facts from fiction. My name is Rabiu Al-Hassan and this is the first edition of the FactSpace on Radio Universe 105.7 FM. You can get a replay of the program via our podcast channels on AfriPorts and Spotify or across our social media handles. Tune in this and every Thursday from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. 30 minutes of insights and discussions on media and information literacy, disinformation, and matters that would concern you relating to the digital space. Ghana is still recovering from the shock of the helicopter crash that has claimed 8 lives, 2 cabinet ministers and 6 others dead, as the president declares 3 days of national mourning. In this digital age, where information spreads like wildfire, a lot has been shared and is still being shared online about the unfolding situation. We have a report detailing how some pictures and videos are being misleadingly portrayed online about the accident. As part of the program, we'll talk to a cross-section of the public to share with us how they are able to tell between what is real and what is false. We'll also talk about the role social media is playing in the Bawku conflict in the Upper East region. This has become a much talked about subject in Ghana of late. But first, here is a brief conversation I had with Dr. Aurelia Eyisi, a lecturer in the Department of Communication Studies here at the University of Ghana. She teaches and researches in the fields of media, communication, and cultural studies. We spoke about digital access in Ghana, concerns about misinformation and disinformation online, and how well stakeholders are working to address the emerging challenges.
So as far as digital, or should I say internet penetration is, there's a fair, I want to say, access to internet and internet technologies. So particularly within the urban areas, when you go to the peripheries as well, there's internet access. Now, when I say access, I mean the availability. So there's reach. The question for me though is whether people are able to afford the internet where the facilities exist, right? And whether they even have the devices to be able to go onto the internet where the actual, where the action or the information is available. So in terms of internet penetration, I think even when you move out of the urban and you go to the peripheries, there is some internet access, not perfect, but there is some level of access. Internet or data is still quite costly, right? Fast internet even costlier. So in terms of access and accessibility issues, I think this is generally what it looks like. 3 years ago, the Department of Communication Studies with Information Studies Department did a study on Ghanaian youth media and information literacy levels. As part of that study, we found that even Ghanaian youths who do not own devices, digital devices, have access to it. So they are going on the internet, whether on an uncle's phone or a mother or a father's phone. So there's some level of access, right? Is it at the level that we would have desired? Because that's where a lot of the learning also takes place. It can be better, particularly also when we look at how affordable it is or should be.
Yeah, it's interesting you've mentioned about the research that was done. Which brings me to my next question. What is the impact of access to the internet on the information environment?
So, two things, and I'll start with the positive part. The access to the internet means that individuals, generally, we have access to more information. We are able to check from multiple sources. We are able to, at the click of a button, really be able to have access to information that we need, whether for education, for health, etc. In the same vein, it has opened us up to challenges of plethora, a lot of that kind of information overload, a lot of information where you are not sure which one is credible and which one isn't. And information literacy in itself, it's not something that we are born with. Like every kind of literacy, it's something that we learn. So that the challenge with the access, us being able to access the internet, and particularly for younger people, is the fact that when they go online, even the decision or the knowledge to know whether this is a credible news site or this is a credible news source as opposed to one that isn't, then becomes a challenge for them. So the health or the quality of the information that they are even getting, you can't be sure of. Yeah.
So this brings me to why we are even having this conversation. FactSpace Weekly is a program that has been curated basically to provide the public with digital literacy, media information literacy, and kind of get people to understand the behind the scenes, what happens before you see all the information you see on the different channels that people want to consume information. How much of a concern do you have about the quality of information people are consuming across social media platforms?
I think that we need to, as educators and really people like yourselves who are working within this space, I think that we all have cause to be, I want to say, reasonably concerned. And I say reasonably concerned because while the information is available out there, there are also people whose 9-to-5 jobs, I want to say, is also to go out there and to fabricate information, to doctor existing information, and now with the promise of AI, to even create things that never existed and present them as though they are the realities. Without that critical knowledge of information literacy, of digital literacy, but now we are having to contend with an AI literacy. Without that arming individuals with sort of these multiple literacies that we are confronted with, then I would have to say that we have a lot of work on our hands, and work not just for educators but for people like you who are leading the charge, so that we are finding multiple avenues, particularly outside of the classroom, because there's only so much we can put in the curriculum and there's only so much time that we spend with students, right? So that we are finding multiple ways to be teaching and actually engaging with everyone, but in particular young people, because they were born into this age as opposed to those of us who evolved with or came to meet these technologies, so that we are able to teach them to be able to spot the differences, but also so that they themselves don't become purveyors of these challenges that we are talking about. Because young people are creating AI images, and there's almost no ethical mind or principle that is going with it. People are even doctoring images and using them for fraudulent, insurance claims, things like that. So that the concerns are plenty. That is why the approach to how we deal with it, we tackle it, also has to be forward thinking, but also to have a sort of a multi-stakeholder approach, but also happening at various levels, so that we are able to have like a holistic approach to both the positives of it, but also the challenges that.
So when you listen to all the conversations around ensuring digital literacy, promoting media information literacy, would you say there are existing gaps where we are leaving behind the unlettered, the uneducated, even though they also have access to the internet and are consuming some of the information we are saying are troublesome or bad?
Absolutely. And if I even just start with the literacy gap in terms of being able to speak or read and write in English, you notice that at least in Ghana, across the fact-checking organizations, a lot of the fact checks that are done in English, right? So what that means is that unless I understand English, I'm seeing the fact check, but I'm actually not able to understand or make good of it. But also, if we look at our digital spaces, quite a number of the disinformation is health disinformation, and the health disinformation is predominantly in Twi, right? But I understand. I also, because I'm on the other side of the table, I also understand that it takes a certain level of literacies, be able to understand Twi, Dagbani, Ga, all of those languages, to be able to conduct fact checks and also be able to write those reports. So for an African context, and in fact a Ghanaian context like ours, because of the cultural differences, etc., we not only are battling with a fact-checking or a misinformation correction, but we need to take into consideration the language barriers, the access barriers as well. Because somebody may have encountered misinformation, but not on TikTok, for instance. Perhaps they heard it on an information center or something. How are we, what is our remedial action to that? How are we conducting fact checks to counter that, and how are we even disseminating? So our work is cut out for us.
The World Economic Forum Global Risk Report have highlighted particularly how misinformation and disinformation has become a threat to the world.
Right.
But locally, do you think at different levels, academically, socially, at the government level, we have prioritized and have identified these emerging risk, digital risk, as a problem that we would need to confront head on?
To some extent, and I say to some extent because at least academia and fact-checking organizations like yours, we are putting in the work we are putting in because we do. Actually, if we didn't think it was that much of a threat, we wouldn't be putting in the level of effort and resources, right? I think that the gap that I readily see, right, is that coordination between all of the stakeholders. Academia will teach. Fact-checking organizations will conduct their fact checks. They will do the kind of public awareness initiatives that you are doing now. But also, there's also a place for content moderation, right? There's also a place for not necessarily robust policies, but frameworks, because we are dealing with a digital animal that is still evolving, right? So it may well be that by the time we have a copious legislative instrument, it's even archaic before its arrival. So that we need to take it as it comes, but importantly, we need to be working hand in hand.
Dr. Aurelia Yisi is a lecturer at the Department of Communication Studies at the University of Ghana. Now, on the streets of Accra, my colleague Samuel Ajite Ejei spoke to a cross-section of the public to understand how skilled they are to be able to verify information they see online.
Okay, so fake news is a very, very big issue of concern because there have been situations where people have lost their lives because of fake news, in the issue of health, in the issue of conduct, because a few years back there was this issue that when you bath with salty water and you have Ebola, it will go away. And then this was an issue to the health of so many women and so many people around the world.
I think fake news is a great concern because information, as we know, already travels fast. And if information that travels fast is not legit, is false, then that means that the general public will be fed with false information and will be made to react in a particular way towards this false. So I think this is a very great issue and it should be attended to very well.
How confident are you in identifying fake news?
Oh, I don't think I can be 100% about a particular news being fake, but asking someone or telling somebody, news travels by people sharing it. So I'll just have to ask someone about it. Yes. Depending on how alarming it is.
Not really confident, and that's because what if these kind of information are coming from credible people? It's hard to really distinguish if it's really fake or not.
I don't think anybody could get past me with fake news because I take all the steps necessary to verify the information. First of all, I will check the date where the information was published, the source, who is saying it, why are they saying it, when exactly did they say it. Also, you could use some fact-checking tools like TinEye, Google Reverse. There are so many ways you can cross-check fake news.
I am not very confident with identifying fake news because fake news comes in the same format as legit or true news comes in. And if I would be able to identify fake from legit news, that means that I would have to pay key attention to certain things that fake news would probably lack. And it's rather unfortunate I have no knowledge about those key things that differs legit news from false news. So I am not very confident with the identification of false news.
What do you think the media can do to curb the spread of fake news?
I feel like there should be agencies that research every type of news that's put out on the internet, and if it's fake, they should shut it down.
I think the media have to just come out and educate people on how to use the media and even bring the law, or maybe they can teach people about the law of maybe bringing fake news, what can bring you the outcome. Maybe
the media should come out quickly when they identify fake news. They shouldn't take time, and then so that the news will spread, the issue become bigger. So they should come out quickly and identify fake news.
Some interesting perspectives coming in there from people on the streets of Accra. My colleague Samuel Ajite Ejei did the interview there. Let's come into the studio now. I have in studio my colleague from the Ghana Facts newsroom, Gifty Tracy Aminu. She's here to share with us some of the most recent fact checks that have been produced in the course of the week. But first, we would want to start from the helicopter crash yesterday. I understand the newsroom has produced a report focusing on flagging misinformation and disinformation relating to the crash. Tracy, can you help us understand what work you've done?
Yes, Rabbi rightly said. And so this, from yesterday to this morning, we monitored social media, and then we identified some news outlets or news websites and social media users circulating videos and images to depict the scene of the incident. And so we found one image that actually came from the Indian crash that happened June 15, 2025. That was mixed with some of the pictures from the incident. And we verified that as misleading using Google reverse image search. We also found another video of an incident that happened last year, March 2024, where there was a mishap with one of the military helicopters in Bawku, and we found out that people were circulating that to depict what happened that led to the crash on that day. We verified that as well. And the last image we verified today was a picture from a picture that was originally shared by the fire service last year, where there was another mishap, and then they were there to rescue people, and there was a military man on site and everything. So people were using these pictures to portray as what has happened yesterday.
So these were pictures, videos of events that have happened either in Ghana or in other countries like in India, but are not connected to what happened, unfortunately, yesterday.
They are not related at all to what happened yesterday.
It's important for people to verify some of the information they'll chance on, mostly when some of these events are happening, because people are eager to find out what is happening. They chance on all these information, and they quickly want to reshare and share with close pals.
Exactly.
So what other fact checks did you produce as a newsroom?
Okay, so in the course of the week, we also verified multiple publications by media houses from which is being attributed to Parliament, as Parliament approving that all oil and mineral revenues should be pushed or should be allocated to the big push. Our investigation shows that it's only the allocation from oil and mineral royalties that is tied to the budget, simply known as APFA, that is being pushed under the big push. So we verified it, and then we found evidence from Bank of Ghana to support our publication, that to say that in the oil and mineral revenues that the country generates, it is distributed into 3 parts. And the first part goes to the Ghana Heritage Fund, which is 9%. 21% of it goes to the Ghana Stabilization Fund, and then 70% of it goes to the APFA, which is the annual budget funding amount, which Parliament has approved recently for it to be channeled to the big push, and not all has been channeled. So we verify that as false claims being pushed to the society. Okay. Yeah. And then another interesting one we did was on one of the former MPP chairman, Peter McBenu. He made the assertion in public that the video of the ex-president lamenting that the party has sidelined him major decisions is AI generated when on July 19, 2025 at their delegate conference. So we investigate that, and then we found that it's not AI generated, and beyond major media houses or credible platforms sharing this information, we got in touch with a former member of parliament, Dr. Adumako Kisi, who confirmed that he was present during the meeting with Dr. Brian Ichiampon. And so
finally, if you could give us your last fact check and the verdict you came to.
Okay, so my last fact check will focus on Mpox. Now we know that we are recording cases across the country, and so we identified that a social media user who may be or not misled some news platforms to suggest that the death we recently recorded is the first since 2022 is not true. In 2022, we recorded 4 deaths as a result of Mpox, and so, that's...
Thank you very much, Gifty Tracy Aminu, coming from the Ghana Facts Newsroom, helping us understand some of the latest fact checks that have been produced. And something that is striking, some credible media outlets keep on sharing some information that could pass as misleading, some even as false. So it would be important for media houses to set up fact-checking decks in their newsroom, tool their journalists to be able to use basic digital tools to verify information, to ensure that whatever information is being churned out of their newsrooms are credible. So thank you very much, Gifty. Let me come in studio again. I have here Alpha Shaban, who is editor in the Ghana Facts Newsroom. We are hoping to concentrate, finally, before we call it a day, on developments in Bawku. we are not really going to go into the merits of whatever is happening with regards to the conflict there, but we've noticed that social media is playing some roles in the Bawku conflict, with actors actively using different social media channels to push narratives to promote the two feuding sides on social media. Alpha, you've produced a report, a narrative report, explaining details of the tactics, techniques, and procedures being used by these actors. So kindly come through for us. What exactly has the newsroom done with regards reporting on how social media is playing a role in the conflict?
Okay, so essentially, we are looking at how a live conflict is playing out online. So we hear more in the news about the fact that there are casualties, people have been injured, the military has gone in, the police have abandoned the place. But in real time, people are online who are actually fanning the flames using these digital platforms and these digital channels. The Facebook we all go to just to go and post about friends and to send messages. Some people are actually using it as a battleground where they are putting a lot of narratives out. Now, we conducted over 12 months of open source digital investigation, collecting links on especially Facebook and TikTok. So Facebook belongs to a parent body, which is Meta. So it's like the Meta group. And then there's TikTok, which is a separate entity. On Facebook, we collected over 100 of links about how groups and individuals are actually using, among others, doxing and using coded language to actually play into one side of the conflict or the other side. And some of these things don't even go against the adversaries, but actually against law enforcement officials. So it's a very tense situation online, actually.
You mentioned one where the doxing. What does that mean?
So essentially, doxing is putting someone's private details online. And in this case, in the context of the conflict, it is being done so that people can actually target such people. So your phone number, your house number, places you visit, published on Facebook, everybody has access to it. And more often than not, there's a combat language accompanying it. Go and visit such a person. That visit is a coded language. Visit means go and then inflict harm on that person. So what we also realized was that some of these doxing messages actually played out in real life. So the report would show you how someone was doxed, and then maybe the following day realized that the person had been attacked. So it's real life.
Okay. Are there other tactics you noticed from the analysis you do collecting data on social media?
So essentially the use of hate speech. It's massive online. And then in that hate speech, hidden behind all of that are coded slurs. So you realize that one faction is being referred to as pigs, the other faction is being referred to as monkeys. So whenever you see such terminology, it means that they're actually directing you towards somebody or a group of people. And the direction is actually to go inflict pure harm. And it's nothing beyond that. And then again, on the issue of gaming algorithms, you realize that even on normal social media now, the platforms will easily flag something as against community rules. So for instance, instead of using killed, for instance, they will use some other alphabet that the algorithm cannot necessarily come through for. So they use those ones to go around the system, and then all of that plays out. So it's not only Facebook, as I have said, TikTok also played a role. YouTube actually has a role in it. And this thing spreads beyond the combat area, thanks to social media in particular.
Wow, quite interesting there. And from reading the report, which is available on GhanaFact.com, I also noticed that the use of the local language is being deployed to get around the algorithms of the platforms. Interestingly, the data you collected from Facebook with regards posts that have been made, and also on TikTok, you shared it with the companies involved. Can you give us feedback as to the final decisions that these platforms took when you shared the data with them?
Okay, so essentially over 100 live posts shared with Meta. That's the parent company for Facebook, as I said earlier. And it took months for them to come through and then agree that, okay, we are taking down a number of them. They took about one-third. They took down about one-third, which is about 29 exactly, of the posts that we had identified and flagged. So you can imagine all those other posts are still there, and then people are actually having access to it. So the platforms have always told us that they have a process that they go through before they can take anything down. So that process actually is what we are trying to get around, or trying to be able to get around to get more posts taken down.
Okay, so the social media platforms do have community standards, and they claim to insist that they don't allow for hateful rhetorics and threatening messages to be posted on their platforms. But clearly, from what we've observed, specifically with regards to the Bawku conflict, actors involved in the conflict are using these platforms to foment trouble and to incite the violence happening there. Thank you very much, Alpha, for coming through. That's it for the Fact Space, a weekly program focused on helping you understand the key challenges and threats that information disorder and the use of digital technology pose to us. My name is Rabiu Al-Hassan. Thank you for joining us and being part of the first edition of the Fact Space on Radio Universe 105.7 FM. You can get a replay of the program via our podcast channels on AfriPorts and Spotify, or across our social media handles. Tune in this and every Thursday from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. Join us next week.